All right, welcome to the inaugural episode of Behind the Woodshed Sports. My name is Alex. Been a sports enthusiast my whole life. Looking to share my takes with everybody here. Hopefully you like it. Put a like and a comment there, subscribe, and here we go. I wanted to touch on Brady joining the Buccaneers. What does that mean for the NFC South? That's going to change the landscape of the NFC completely. You have teams that, obviously missed out on Brady, and then you have the Buccaneers, who I don't think anybody who follows any sort of sports would have seen coming. I mean, Schefter. But the rest of us, we found out that, and we're thinking, holy cow, what does that do? Does that even make a difference? I mean, they definitely are going to be less in the turnover area. Jameis Winston was good for, 5 touchdowns, but would toss you 7 picks. So they're going to have consistency. You've got 2 of the best wideouts in the game, if not the best wideouts in the game. Obviously, people are going to come at me for Hopkins and Julio and all that, and those guys are great. But you have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans next to each other. That's crazy. I think they were both top 10 fantasy pick last year. I mean, I played a guy in my league that had both of them, and yeah, he rode them to the championship. So they got a lot of potential there, and Brady's not going to turn the ball over. They've got a great head coach in Bruce Arians. I think they're going to have a career year for Brady down there. Talking about Carolina picking up Teddy B. I'm a big Teddy B fan, so it's a big deal that one of my guys there got a starting gig again. A lot of people, myself included, thought he wasn't going to play it again after what happened in Minnesota on that practice field, which is crazy. I mean, I remember where I was at work when I heard about it, and it was crazy. Great dude. Anyone that's ever followed him really, really is happy that he's succeeding because he's just a great dude. And a good quarterback, too. He's 5-0 in his last opportunity with the Saints. So, A+ for Teddy there. I think Carolina really, it's not a sexy move. A lot of people are going to get after him and say, look, maybe you could have gone with someone else. Maybe they should have made a run at Brady, but I don't know. I think Teddy's going to do well. I don't see more than 10 or 11 wins, but that's not really a conversation on him. That's a conversation about the rest of the team. So that's something that everybody can work on down there. Let's see here. How about the AFC? Just a disaster. Trading Hopkins down from the Texans, which I can't believe that ownership even let that happen. Why did Bill O'Brien have that ability to do that? I think he just made himself the GM. That was just all-time boneheaded move, history of the league. I mean, Minnesota's up there with the Herschel Walker trade, but this might be the same tier of dumb. Great idea there. Cardinals come out way ahead. I think Larry Fitz is going to have a career year with having a number 1 A+ wide receiver on the other side. He's going to get a lot of open looks. And Hopkins, I think, might have a career year too. He's got not a whole lot of competition. I mean, the West is pretty stacked, but they're gonna have a good couple matchups there. Colts, I don't know, man. Going from Andrew Luck retiring, then you got Jacoby Brissett, and then now you're turning to a 37-year-old Phillip Rivers who brings a different kind of leadership to the building, but you could have had Cam Newton. You could have gone for Teddy. I mean, Teddy would have succeeded very well there. Got a buddy of mine who's a big Colts fan. Don't know how he feels long-term about it. He told me it wasn't something that he was happy about. And then that leaves the Chargers. What do they do at quarterback? They've got Tyrod Taylor, the aforementioned Tyrod Taylor. And, I mean, he's good. Middle-of-the-road guy. Not going to get you to any championships. Is he really your guy? Are you hoping to get one of those other free agent QBs? Cam Newton's still out there. Jameis Winston's still out there. The head coach of the Chargers is well-liked. You can get a guy like Jameis Winston for nothing, next to nothing. I think he's a free agent, so nothing. Or are they trying to shoot for one of these free agent guys, or maybe they're trying to go for out of the draft? You get a rookie quarterback, you got that 5-year window like the Chiefs did with Mahomes. He's transformed that franchise within a year. It's absolutely insane. I mean, yeah, Andy Reid's a hell of a coach, but you got to have the right guy, you got to have the right fit, and boy, did he just take over. Raiders, what are they doing out there? They get in their own way more than anybody else. The biggest team to beat the Raiders every year is the Raiders, and I don't know that that's going to change going to Las Vegas there, but, it's a pretty new stadium. I've seen some pictures of it, and it looks like a spaceship. So I'll probably try and get out there just for that. Vegas isn't on my list of places to go. Neither is New York, so I don't know. I don't know that I'd ever get there unless I was, being intentional like this to go see that. Broncos, they're going to be all right. I mean, they have a good running game, for sure. Melvin Gordon signing with them for, I think it was a 2-year deal. Specifically wanted to play the Chargers every year. Show them what they lost out on, but I think they knew what they lost out on, and it wasn't a whole lot because he was second on his own team to Austin Eckler, who was my favorite fantasy pick that I had. So, wanted to touch on, are we at the end of the great quarterback era with the advent of fantasy football? No one seems to care. If you got a guy that can produce, maybe run a little bit, get you points there, is that the face of the quarterback room now? How long do we go until we don't have this upper echelon of quarterback play in the same manner that we do now? I mean, I was watching a sports show earlier today, and they brought up maybe there's 7 to 12 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the league right now, and I disagreed with a couple of them, but is that true? And then where do we go from there? We've got all these quarterbacks that get drafted high up that end up doing nothing. I mean, not that Winston has done nothing. He was actually the only 5,000-yard passer last year, which is surprising, but they air it out like crazy, and they needed to because he was frequently putting him in a bad position. But we don't have, any prospects that I know of. You hear the big names tossed around about the college ranks right now. I'm not that big into the college side of football here, so I'm not going to try and provide a take on something I don't know about. But we have right now, we have Mahomes, and everyone's already putting him in the Hall of Fame like they were doing with Andrew Luck. And he was very likely headed that way before he retired, actually, over my bachelor party weekend. And I thought it was a joke. I woke up and got a couple guys texting me, hey, Luck retired. I'm like, nah, you guys are messing with me. We didn't stay out that late. And yeah, sure enough, it was wild. Changed the face of the league. But who's leading the charge? Who's the next in line for this great quarterback play? Going back to Mahomes, he's a transformative player. But who else do you look at as part of these young guys that are like, holy cow, like that guy changed this game? Jimmy Garoppolo, really doubtful on that one. He's got the looks. Daniel Jones, don't see that going anywhere. What about Sam Darnold? I don't think the team is planning around him too much. You have the Bills. They're doing everything they can to make Josh Allen successful. So I think if anyone's going to be the next guy out of any of those guys, I think it would be Josh Allen. But who do we get after Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay? Speaking of upper echelon quarterback play, he might not have the arm he did, but he's still the mental tough guy. Similar with Peyton Manning, he won that Super Bowl, technically, but it was his mental play that kept him in the game. And how about the Packers? What are they going to do after Rodgers? Can his style of play translate into an extended career like Tom Brady? Is that a player that even wants to play? Has that mental fire to keep him going? You look at Brady, and that's why he's doing as well as he is. He has that mental ability to keep going. I live in Wisconsin, and watching Rodgers pretty much every Sunday, he doesn't seem to have that fire where he wants to be that great guy. And I think lately he's been resting on the fact that everyone is calling him this great guy, top 3, 4 in the league. And I saw on ESPN the other day they had him as a top 5 quarterback of all time, like up there with Brady and Montana and people that had multiple Super Bowl appearances at the very least. He's got to get back to the big one. Got to prove that he can put the team on his back, and I think he gets a pass for some reason because, he plays for the Packers. Oh, they don't have weapons. Guess who doesn't have weapons? Brady doesn't have weapons. He's got one guy, maybe two guys every year. And that's it. And they just whip those guys the whole year. And they get to the Super Bowl. So, what are you going to do? Apparently nothing if you're Green Bay. Do people care if these quarterbacks are not great for an extended period of time as long as fantasy's around? It has certainly changed the way people consume the sport. You have people watching 4 or 5 games on a Sunday versus, okay, well, it's the afternoon game, and then it's the night game, and maybe Monday night. Now you got people, myself included, Sunday ticket, man, watching as many games as I can, 4 or 5 things on the screen at one time, and going from there. It's changed the way that we all consume the sport. So I don't know if people watch teams anymore. Do you have a favorite team? Comment below. But I grew up watching a team because my dad did. And, around here, we're in Wisconsin, so people watch the Packers. But do people just do it because that's where they live? Do they actually have a favorite team? Is the favorite team going away? We watch players. I watched, like I was saying, Austin Eckler. Great fantasy pickup for me. So I'm trying to tune in to these Chargers games that I really don't care about to see Eckler run over the Browns or, whatever. We need those fantasy points, which is why we do that. Wanted to pause for a minute, give a shout out to Computer Corner. Good friend of mine. Provides self-service for 14 different regions in the state of Wisconsin. So just wanted to give a big shout out over to Computer Corner, and they've been helping me out a long time. So if you're in the central to Green Bay to Fond du Lac area in Wisconsin, go ahead and give a stop by. And they won't do you wrong. They've always treated me great. Wanted to touch on NBA here. I'm not outside of the box. I don't have a whole lot of basketball knowledge. But I did want to touch on how does this postponement of the NBA season affect the overall perception of the league? I think many of us that, we wanted to go see Vince Carter play his last game in Milwaukee, but hey, that's not happening. Hopefully that gets re-upped, but that is a super bummer. Not that I'm in the slightest bit salty, but I think everyone's pretty receptive to the NBA saying, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and 86 the rest of this if possible. Adam Silver is well-liked, to say the least, from what I've ever heard about him. And he seemed to have gotten in front of everything right away. And, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. And everyone's like, all right, sounds good. But then you have the NFL on the other side where, they're kind of the bad guy in the room as well as the good guy. It's like that rich uncle who's kind of a jerk, but he's kind of nice at the same time. NFL's saying that they're going to force ahead, they're going to do the draft the same way, and I love watching the draft. I'm not one of those guys that makes draft boards and whatever, but I just like to watch it. I like to see those people's lives change in an instant. You have these guys that were, training their whole life, playing their whole life to get a new position to be drafted, and just seeing them, put on that hat, hug their family. It's one of the greatest things you can watch because that's the best in reality TV right there. I actually every year go with my aunt and uncle to a place in Madison called the Great Dane, and great beer, by the way. You should go there. Their Belgian white is amazing. It's my favorite. But I don't know what their plan is. How are you going to go ahead with something like this in the middle of a pandemic? Anyway, but NBA I thought was really great getting out front. Obviously they had a player that tested positive for it, so they really needed to be aggressive and adjust it. Does that change the way the rest of the league approaches a hiatus like this? Does that change the way the NFL operates? I really doubt it because they're more about the bottom line than the players, which is unfortunate because it's the most brutal sport of all of them. Does this break in play? Does this help the lower echelon of the teams? Obviously the Bucks, the Clippers, the Lakers, they're going towards the championship route. And, for the most part right now, they're on cruise control. Does this hurt them getting people out of game shape? Is Giannis going to be, 3/4 Giannis for 3-4 games until then they get back into playing shape, do the old Shaq beginning of the year come in really out of shape, and by the time you get to the finals, who cares, because you're in the finals and you're back in shape. I think this might help the lower teams, the teams that were 7, 8 seed needed a break. They needed some time to recover. Okay, cool, now we got all this extra time. Let me go ahead and work on my jumper. Let me go ahead and work on, this or that. And I imagine they're doing some sort of video chat with their team, with the team doctor, saying, hey, what do we do? How can we work on this? And maybe they're even holding practices. I don't know. I imagine they would. But I think that helps those lower teams versus, some of those top tier guys that were just kind of waiting for the postseason to start. And maybe they'll even just skip right to the postseason. I mean, they were, 59 games in, 65 games in? So they might already just, look, we're just going to go ahead and what we have is what we have. I don't know. Yeah, that's my take on the NBA. I'm going to try and do one of these shows every day, maybe every other day, provide some fresh content for you. I want to say thanks for everyone who's watching the video. Go ahead and, like I said, if you can hit a like for me, that'd be great. I'm just starting this out. Provides me with some feedback. That would be super too. And hope you guys have a great night, and God bless America.